right. And
Hey,
I
Marlie.
think we're, hi, Leslie, how are you?
I'm good. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone who maybe you're checking us out. Last week, we spent some time on authenticity. And I think one of the major needs of authenticity is responding to expectations. So, our topic this week is looking at expectations. And oh boy, there's a lot of expectations on women a lot of the time. We learn to be responsible at a super young age. We learn how to behave, how to look, how to be polite. We learn about expectations in terms of achievements, school, athletics, arts. We learn how to behave in friendships, how to behave at school. And oh my goodness, there's so many expectations placed on us. We can all relate to that. And then we become adults and we add partners and we add workplaces and we add new friends and we add parents and oh my gosh, children. And it goes on and on. And when you look at the sum of all that, it means a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure on women. And I think it can drive us crazy. And we're constantly trying to do what we're supposed to do, right, Marlie? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And I know that, before we hopped on tonight, we talked about, so absolutely, as we grow up, we start to kind of absorb these beliefs that we need to like meet certain expectations in order to, be accepted or belong or be okay or get that approval. And you're right, it does trickle into adulthood. And I know that a lot of us, and we've talked about this in our group, right, is like there's things are changing out here with COVID in our lives. The expectations that are being placed on us now are totally different. And, there's this idea that like, and we talked a little bit about it beforehand, and I actually would love to hear or for you to share your thoughts on the different types of expectations that we now have. Because, like, yeah, absolutely. As children, there are expectations for sure, and we're growing up, and that's just part of our childhood. But now, as adults, there's we get really cognitive, we get really in our heads about a lot of this stuff. So you talked about three different types of beliefs
Yeah.
or expectations. I'd love for you to talk about them.
I kind of added one because, and I'll use the example of cooking because pretty much every woman I talk to right now is complaining about the amount she's having to cook and she's going crazy with no relief, right? So I kind of added one. And if you look at the meals in your house, I mean, the first one would be a real expectation. Like, are you cooking dinner tonight? What are you making tonight? The second one would be like an implied expectation. So
Right.
nothing said. You might come home from being out for a walk or something, come home around 6 and nothing's being done. So it's implied that you're going to cook the
Mm-hmm.
meal. And then the self-imposed one is just the pressure that we put on ourselves that I guess I should be thinking about the meal and I should be cooking. So there's kind of three ways to look at it: real expectations, implied expectations,
Right.
and then self imposed. Because a lot of them we just put on ourselves, right?
Yeah. So it's like that, someone's verbally, so there's that first one, someone's actually verbally, explicitly stating, this is what I'm expecting of you. And we
Yeah.
get that a lot as kids, but we can still get that a lot in relationships as adults. But I think those implied expectations are those really tricky ones. And I've got some thoughts around as adults now, as women in these relationships, and especially when we're facing new expectations. I have some thoughts around how you can actually kind of suss that out and pull each one apart and figure out, is this really an expectation? Has somebody explicitly stated this, or is this implied, or is this just me putting this expectation on myself? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah. I know.
So
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
no, you say your thoughts first, because I want to speak a little bit about like how you work through all of those.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say it's something you've probably taught me over the years. And I think when you have those three sort of forces playing on you, the practice that I use over and over and over again is to step away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than react to it, like you
Yeah,
walked in the kitchen and there's no food and you react and you get pissed off,
yeah.
like just step away from it and think about it for a minute and see what it is. If is it real? Or are you putting this on yourself? Could you easily just say, you know what? I'm not that hungry. I'm just gonna have a sandwich tonight. And
Yeah,
maybe everybody around you go, okay, we'll order pizza and it's done. You know what I mean? So
totally.
step away from it and just give it a little breathing room before you kind of react to what you think's going on.
Yeah, it's like we can make up this story in our heads that people are expecting something from us when in reality they're not.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I know.
So I love that. And I love the way that you've separated out those three different kinds of expectations. I just want to quickly say hi to the folks that are watching with us. I know there's some people here. I see Emily has said good evening. So hi, Emily. Thanks for being here tonight.
Hi,
So
thanks
please
for joining.
comment and say hi if you're here with us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think, we touched a little bit on the COVID thing and the cooking thing. And I think there's a lot of pressure, and I see it particularly in our Emotional Health Matters group,
Mhm.
which if you guys haven't joined, please join. It's such a fantastic group of women. But I see a lot of women dealing with maybe kids that are now home living with them,
Yeah,
and parents. I see
right.
lots of women talking about they're looking after parents in this
Hmm.
tough time and trying to protect them. So we're kind of being placed into some of our kind of typical or maybe old roles as moms, or as children of parents. So I
Hmm.
think that's putting some new expectations on us as well, Marlie. More pressure.
I agree for sure. And it is so this is why having these kinds of skills to be able to differentiate between whether this is a real or a, implied or, a self-imposed expectation, why it's even more important now than ever when we're getting all of these our relationship dynamics are changing and maybe there's new expectations that are being placed on us, or maybe we feel like there are. So if you're able to kind of take yourself through this, like you said, Les, being able to step back for one. And then if you can take that moment to pause or even actually write it down and journal, like what I'm obviously reacting to something's going on. And if you can slow down and be like, okay, is this expectation real? Is it implied? And if it is real and it's something that you can negotiate, if you're finding that it is an overwhelming expectation and you're not able to actually take it on anymore because things have changed, and if you have that relationship where you're able to negotiate, this would almost be like setting a boundary at this point, right? You're just saying, I'm at this point where I'm not able to meet that expectation. Can we talk about how we can make this work for both of us?
Yeah.
It really depends on the relationship you're in. But then if it's one of those implied ones, I really think, again, if you're in a relationship where you feel confident, you can approach this person and say, hey, I just want to get a reality check. I'm kind of under the impression that you want me to do something or, be some way. I just want to find out if that's me actually believing that, or if you actually do expect me to be this way or do this thing.
Yeah.
I love that, the idea of a reality check. I think that's a really great way to kind of put it. And getting a really reality check with yourself too, to find out, am I just putting this on myself? So there's a lot of good insights there if you can pause, right? Pausing is
Oh,
so key.
pausing is so key, and knowing that it's okay, and it's why it was kind of part of our authenticity or being honest discussion, knowing that it's okay to speak up and let someone kindly and calmly know that you're freaking overwhelmed,
Yeah.
that the expectations are too much right now. We just stop and talk about it, because I think I'm going to need some support. You know what, people 9 times out of 10 are going to respond really well to you.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'd love to talk a little bit more about this in the Emotional Health Matters group. I love being over there because we have so many women who, share their real experiences with us around these topics, right? Because we all know what it's like to have expectations placed on us by other people or our own self. And so maybe we can pop over there because I've got lots more to talk about. And I'd really love, if you're watching tonight, please join us in the Emotional Health Matters group, because I'm going to share a little bit more about the process you can go through, like a mental exercise you can take yourself through to figure out how to have healthier boundaries around expectations with both yourself and others. So we'd love if you could join us over there
Yeah.
in
And
Emotional
it's a
Health
free
Matters.
group, you guys. It's a free group, and it's growing. And oh my goodness, it's some really, really great discussions going on and inspiration. So we'd love you to join us. But thanks for joining us tonight right here.
Yeah, thank you so much for sure. And as Lydia always reminds us, make sure you please answer the questions to get into the group because it's really important. So we
Yeah.
appreciate that if you do want to join us.
Okay, see you over there, Mark.
Okay, we'll see you soon.